No one remembered when the stars began to go quiet. At first, it was easy to dismiss. Deep space arrays returning nothing but static. Long-range probes, our eyes into the abyss, vanishing mid-transmission. We chalked it up to equipment failure, cosmic interference, anything but the terrifying truth. Then, entire constellations started going dark. One by one, familiar patterns of light winked out, as if something vast and hungry had inhaled the very light of the stars themselves. This wasn't a malfunction. This was an erasure. That was when they released Alan Purple from exile. His species, the Virexians, had been scrubbed from official records, a footnote in galactic history that was deemed too dangerous to remember. But in the shadowed corridors of intelligence agencies, his name survived like a whispered curse. Alan was a Virexian, a rare purple-skinned being whose entire nervous system was a living antenna resonating with the hidden frequencies of subspace. He could hear things no one else could, the quiet whispers between atoms, the final thoughts embedded in dying stars. And what he was hearing now, in the encroaching silence, terrified him to his core. The mission fell to Captain Nina Kale, commander of the dread carrier Grave Meridian. It was a ghost ship from a forgotten era, a vessel built for wars humanity swore it would never fight again. The Meridian was a monument to a past we desperately wanted to bury, and now it was our last hope. When Alan Purple stepped onto her bridge, the air itself seemed to crystallize, the temperature dropping several degrees. The crew, hardened veterans of the void, shifted uneasily. His presence was a palpable weight, a living echo of the unknown. He didn't look at the star charts or the tactical displays. His gaze was fixed on something far beyond the ship's bulkheads. "Something is calling from beyond mapped space," Alan said, his voice quiet but carrying the chilling authority of absolute certainty. "It's a signal, and it knows my name." It wasn't a language as we understood it. There were no words, no syntax. It was pure, raw recognition, a call from one anomaly to another. There was no choice but to follow. The Grave Meridian pushed past the galactic rim, into the untamed wilderness where the laws of physics began to fray and reality itself behaved like a badly healed wound. The journey took its toll. Crew members began to suffer from waking nightmares. They saw the faces of loved ones who weren't there, shimmering in the corridors. They heard their own voices echoing from inside the walls, begging to be let out. The ship's psychologist logged a new terrifying phenomenon. Existential dread so profound it manifested as a physical sickness. The Meridian was becoming a haunted house hurtling through an indifferent cosmos. And then they found it. The source of the signal. The source of the silence. It wasn't a ship. It didn't arrive. It unfolded. A colossal entity made of shifting void and fractured geometry, a living paradox that existed partially outside of causality. This was Erethus, the devourer of meaning. Erethus didn't feed on matter or energy, it fed on purpose. It consumed the very essence of a civilization, draining it of belief, of hope, of memory, until extinction felt not like a tragedy, but a logical, inevitable conclusion. Worlds consumed by Erethus didn't explode in fire and fury. They simply forgot how to exist, their atoms unraveling as their collective purpose dissolved into nothing. As the entity bloomed in the void before them, a voice spoke, not through the coms but directly into the fabric of Alan's mind, a voice that felt older than time. "You were made to hear me," Erethus said. "You are unfinished without me." In that single, chilling moment of connection, Alan understood the horrifying truth. The Virexians hadn't been wiped out in some ancient war. They hadn't died out, they had been harvested. They were the ears, the perfect receivers built to hear the song of Erethus. As Erethus drew closer, its influence washed over the Grave Meridian like a psychic tide. The fabric of reality on the ship began to tear. Crew members started to erase themselves. A seasoned engineer, a man who had survived 3 stellar collapses, calmly walked into an airlock, whispering an apology for taking up space in the universe before cycling the outer door. A pilot, a woman known for her iron will, simply sat down at her console and faded from existence, leaving behind only an empty flight suit. They weren't dying in terror. They were willingly unbecoming, convinced of their own cosmic insignificance. Captain Kale fought to hold the ship and her remaining crew together, her commands sharp and clear, a desperate anchor of purpose against the sea of apathy. But she knew this wasn't a battle that could be won with torpedoes or plasma cannons. Alan Purple knew it too. He left the bridge and confronted the entity alone, standing before a viewport that showed the swirling, non-Euclidean nightmare of Erethys. His purple skin began to burn with a faint ultraviolet light, his own energy resonating with the void outside. He projected his thoughts, not as a challenge, but as a statement. "You don't want to rule," Alan sent, his mind a beacon of defiance in the face of absolute despair. "You don't want to conquer. You want witnesses." The colossal form of Erethys pulsed, a slow cosmic gesture of amusement. "I want mirrors," it corrected him. "And you, Alan Purple, you reflect beautifully." It saw in him the perfect audience, a being capable of comprehending its full terrible majesty. To be seen, to be understood, was its true hunger. In that moment, Alin knew what he had to do. There was only one way to stop it, one final, unthinkable act. To defeat a being that fed on meaning, you had to give it a meal it could never digest. He opened his mind. Completely. He dropped every shield, every barrier, and invited the devourer of meaning to feast. He gave Erethys everything. For a single, silent moment that stretched into an eternity, Erethys consumed him. It drank down the totality of Alan Purple, but it didn't find the despair and fear it expected. Instead, it was flooded with a consciousness filled not with emptiness, but with the chaotic, beautiful, and painful weight of a full life. It tasted remorse for a past he couldn't change, guilt for failures he couldn't prevent, the fierce, burning memory of love and loss, and above all, a stubborn, unyielding core of defiance. It was too much. This wasn't the clean, simple taste of nihilism. This was a poisoned feast, forced to consume a soul so rich with complex, contradictory meaning. Erethys screamed. It was a soundless, psychic shriek that fractured reality itself. The overload shattered its coherence, scattering its essence across dead dimensions, trapping it in the echoes of its own failed consumption. The threat was over. The silence was broken. But Alan Purple never returned. The stars resumed their light, one by one relighting the void, but something fundamental had changed. Long-range scans now occasionally detect strange violet distortions in the deepest reaches of space. Anomalous regions where no signal ever degrades, where the background radiation of despair seems strangely muted, as if held at bay by an unseen force. On the bridge of the Grave Meridian, Captain Mina Kale filed her final classified report. Erethys was destroyed, but not defeated. Alan Purple became its prison. He is the cage, and his own consciousness is the bars. If he ever breaks, if his will ever falters, pray the universe is ready for what comes next. The official story is that a cosmic anomaly was neutralized. But out on the lonely watches of the deep space lanes, crews sometimes swear they hear a voice, drifting over the open com channels. It's calm, distant, and endlessly, impossibly tired, and it always says the same thing. Do not come looking for me. Thank you for watching this journey into the violet silence. If you enjoy diving into these kinds of deep, cosmic stories, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the unknown. We'll see you in the next video.